you?
I'm Liam Billingham.
I'm not going to sing.
Liam Billingham.
I'm just going to say that I'm George Fragopoulos.
And this is Oeuvre Busters.
Recap.
Hi, everybody. George, we did it. We completed season 2 of Oeuvre Busters.
We did. Or did it complete us, Liam? Who can really tell nowadays?
Who can really tell?
This topsy-turvy world.
You know, I got to say, quite a curveball to do an actor for season 2, but it was pretty fun.
Yeah.
Curveball.
Yeah. That's what people on the internet were saying. All those tweets like, whoa, you guys are doing an actor? I was like, better fucking believe we're doing an actor.
So many people, 10,000 tweets right at us like that. So obviously season 2 is Philip Seymour Hoffman, GOAT. We covered about 15 films.
This was a very long season.
It wasn't that long. Was it longer?
Some side episodes.
Was it
we
longer
did like
than
20-something episodes. We did a couple of side episodes.
Did we do I guess it was a little longer than...
You did that side episode with on Arthur.
Arthur, which is a good episode. On Twister.
Yeah.
We did a side episode on...
Charlie Wilson's War.
Which you did, which was really good.
Which was our most popular episode. And I think it was our best episode as well. I think our most
popular episode is the one that we did with Annie Malamet. Actually, you know what?
Oh, we did an episode with Annie. Yeah,
you know
that's right.
Our biggest episode is our Doubt episode. Like by a long margin.
Yeah, with Caitlin, right?
Caitlin May Burke. Let me list the films that we covered in the past. So on April 29th,
I'm going to put this down.
This is amazing. I posted the list of the films that we talked about, what we were going to talk about.
Finish building this IKEA
Can I read
furniture.
Can I read it to you?
Yeah. Because it'll take about an hour.
The Big Lebowski, Happiness, The Talented Mr. Ripley, Love Lisa, Red Dragon, Along Came Polly, 25th Hour, Capote, MI3, Synecdoche, New York. Doubt, Synecdoche, New
Making
York.
a key motion to
Doubt,
Liam.
Jack
Just
Goes
an inch away from
Boating,
his face.
The Master, A Most Wanted Man. I remember when we did our draft episode, I was furious at you for picking a bunch of bullshit movies.
No, I think that was you.
Mission Impossible 3, not The Master anymore. I can't really. Red Dragon.
I thought Red Dragon was you.
You was you 100%. It was like your second pick. Don't you fucking ghostlight me.
I'm gonna sign into her account and make sure I delete that draft episode.
That sounds like a good idea. Please delete it. It's kind of been a journey.
It has.
Do you feel like
a long journey, and we've learned so much, both about ourselves. That was a previous episode which we just recorded 15 minutes ago.
Do you feel like you have a different appreciation? I feel like when we did our John Cassavetes episode.
Well, with Cassavetes, I hadn't seen any of those films.
Yeah, so it sort of changed it kind of blew your mind, right?
And this, I'd seen, not most of them by any means, but I'd seen a handful of them. So what we're going to do today
is just talk about some of the ones that stood out to us in certain ways. But do you feel like your appreciation of him has changed?
I mean, I think again, it's something. There's something rewarding about being able to like work through an entire body of work like this.
Actually, nowhere near an entire body of work.
And I think what's also interesting is in terms of like an actor rather than a director is where clearly there's always like with a director there tends to be, let's say, an aesthetic vision that seems to replicate itself like in certain ways, like over and over and over again. And I don't mean that obviously in a dismissive or bad way, but it's interesting to watch an actor inhabit all of these different roles, play all these different people, and be guided by all of these different directors.
And I think we spent
it's far more protean.
Sorry, yes.
Yeah.
I think we spent a good amount of time sort of like referencing previous performances that we saw in some of these performances. But I think if we were to boil this thing down to our sort of like our binary idea of beta Phil, alpha Phil, and Annie Rose Malamet, who we did our episode on, like sort of the homoerotic or the queer roles of Philip Seymour Hoffman a while back, which I thought was really great. And I'm going to be on Annie's podcast.
Which is, give her a good plug.
Girls Got Jello.
I just released a great episode on Sallow.
Check it out. Tell you, I'm going to be the first straight white male on the show, which is like pretty cool. Yeah. And I'm going to be talking about Antichrist.
Nice, that's a good one.
It's one of my favorite films. To listen to. I love that film. Actually, I don't know.
Can I call in and disagree with you?
Or we probably agree.
Yeah. You're not recording live though, right?
We actually can be.
Can you imagine amazing, like, oh wait, we're getting a first call ever.
George is calling me. So I think we should talk about our favorite alpha Phil roles, our favorite beta Phil roles, and I think we should talk about our favorite performance.
Let's do it.
So let's start with beta Phil.
Ooh, yeah, the small Phil.
I'm going to go with something that we didn't talk about.
Uh-oh.
I'm going to go with Philip Seymour Hoffman's role as Phil Parma in Magnolia.
In Magnolia. Where he plays the caretaker.
Caretaker to Jason Robards' to Jason Robards' character, whose name escapes me.
His crazy patriarch, yeah. Also, Raboteurs one.
What?
Jason Robards is dead, right?
Yeah, he passed away very soon after Magnolia. I really like that performance. I think that's really great, but I actually should pick a beta role from our list. And I think the beta role that I'm going to go with has to be...
Just making some good podcasting.
Oh, man, this is... silence is really effective. Synecdoche, New York.
Oh.
I find it to be a very moving performance. I think that movie is beguiling.
Beguiling.
Well, I just think it's interesting.
You have beguiled me with your use of beguiling.
I think it's interesting that we talked about that film. So there's a lot of recaps of the decade coming out now. And a lot of people's number 1 or number 3 or number 5 of the decade is The Master.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all talking about how beguiling The Master is. And certainly I think it's beguiling, but it's like it's beguiling from like a...
Are you trying to get into the Guinness Book of World Records for using beguiling the most time in a podcast?
It's so meticulously that way. Whereas Synecdoche, New York is such a weird, strange vision, could only be made by one person. I think Shahir Dowd did a wonderful job of sort of talking about that in our episode. And I think that it sort of encapsulates... What I think is interesting about it as a beta thing is that this is like an artist who exists in the world who like can't separate himself from his art, and sort of like his worst qualities and best qualities come through in his art. And I think that that's interesting.
Yeah. I think what's interesting also about that is you can make an argument that character is also a version of Alpha Phil in like sheep's clothing. But yes, totally. And
I think he did a really nice... I think that there's a quality of Phil Hoffman as an actor, certainly not necessarily as a person, of being like the nice guy.
Yeah, without question. My favorite beta Phil role...
Yes.
I was going to go with Boogie Nights, but I'm not, because that's easy. I was going to go with Brandt from The Big Lebowski.
Holy shit.
Calling it back
previously
to
our
very first episode. There's just something so fucking like... sniveling and pathetic and Reagan-esque.
Well, Reagan wasn't a beta male, but I get your point.
About that character?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he wasn't, but I mean in the sense of like all the like these sycophants who just like these mediocrities who kind of ride on this coattail of like white, like bougie, like class kind of power. Yeah, and I just love how like that character like inhabits all of like the worst of these like really pathetic like Republicans who are in power. Like this is like a Scott Walker kind of character.
Yeah, for sure.
Just like people who just like love to lick boots of the powerful.
What would be your alpha male choice?
It's gonna be an easy one for me.
The Master.
It's gonna be the Master. I fucking loved him.
He's incredible.
He's incredible in that.
But I would argue that that's not necessarily an alpha male performance. I think it's an alpha beta.
And I think again, what's interesting about that film to me is how in all of his, let's say, in all of his like supposed power and this kind of like powerful exterior that it has and his beguiling way he conducts himself, stepping on your lines, there is something so emotionally fragile about that character that I love. So like on one hand, as you said, like it's both, right? On the one hand, he comes across as really powerful, demanding, controlling, and on the other hand, especially like with his relationship with Joaquin Phoenix's character, the emotional resonance and the fragility comes through in like such a beautiful way. And I love also how like there are moments in that film where Amy Adams is clearly the one that's in charge of him or
she's
in control.
The master.
And I think he just does a great job like playing both sides.
I think that's pretty good.
I know it's good.
Oh, okay. Well, you don't have to be a dick about it. My alpha performance if only to be sort of varied in my response, because in some ways I think you're onto something. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I think I'm going to go with Mission Impossible 3.
It's a good one.
Phil Hoffman is traditionally the best thing about any film that he's in. That movie has grown sort of in my estimation over time. But he's just almost one-dimensionally terrifying in that movie.
He's a psycho.
But he's still a very real person. And, in our episode on that film, Jose Rodriguez made a point that, like, when he's about to shoot Julia, Bridget Moynihan, he has a tear in his eye. He's sort of upset about it.
Uh-huh.
And I thought that was, like, really interesting. But I think that, like, Phil Hoffman was able to convey damage to a psyche in very precise ways. And I think that that's a good example of that. So I think that that would be my choice for alpha male performance. How about favorite performance?
Favorite performance. So I'm going to, obviously can't say The Master again, and I won't.
You can if you want to.
No, I won't. I will say it's between The One in Doubt, believe it or not.
Wow.
And Caillebotte.
Why those two?
I mean, I think the Caillebotte one is the easier one to answer, at least the one that's, I think, more expected.
Kind of, sort of.
Yeah, just because, again, he inhabits this other person's life and body and mind in such a convincing sort of way.
It's actually, we may have undersold how incredible that is.
Yeah, it's like you're watching a fucking
also,
documentary.
That's an incredible
it's so
movie.
Good. But what I love about Doubt is how, again, there's such incredible nuance to that character.
Yes.
So at one moment you're like, this guy's totally fucking evil. He definitely fucking like molested this child. And at the other moment you're like, oh wait, which obviously is the point of the film. Is he so convincing as somebody who's completely innocent and being completely and utterly railroaded?
Yeah, it's really amazing in that sense. Like you don't know what to think about that guy.
Totally, yeah.
Except that he's a priest, so he's probably a dirtbag.
And again, in my reading of that film, the enigmatic nature of, in fact, like what happened, what didn't happen.
I still have my doubts.
Oh, I have my doubts, Liam. And the way in which he totally convinces us that, because even if you buy it that like he is evil, just the way in which he sells himself as not being evil, is so good.
I have a two-way tie for my favorite performance. Along Came Polly and A Most Wanted Man.
Make it rain.
Because I think Along Came Polly came out in 2004. A Most Wanted Man came out in 2014. Between those two movies, he was in Caillebotte. He was in Caillebotte. He played Caillebotte a year after he was in Along Came Polly. Mission Impossible, Before the Devil Knows You're Dead, Synecdoche, New York, Doubt, Jack Goes Boating, The Master. And I just think that like Along Came Polly sort of feels to me like the last sort of like Phil Hoffman existing in anonymity, where he can be a character actor and disappear into this kind of like goofy, confident sidekick, and then become the stuff of legend, which quite frankly I think he is by the time A Most Wanted Man comes out. It's just the fact that he unfortunately passed away, but like to think about the fact that there's an actor who can be like, make it rain, and 10 years later play a conservative spy who has like the right values and like can communicate his regrets and tragedy and lack of space in the world in the way that this character is able to, is just like, I don't know. I feel like we spent a lot of this season being like, wow, Phil Hoffman is the greatest ever, but like Phil Hoffman is the fucking greatest ever. And I think that that's just, I think that those two represent a sort of dialectical, I have to stop saying this. I think that they represent a nice,
beguiling, bro.
They represent a nice like counterpoint to one another.
Well, I was going to say, do you think there's any chance that Sandy at some point after the events of Along Came Polly moved to Germany
became a German
spy? Or maybe he was a German spy to begin with. And the Sandy and the child actor thing was a totally cover.
Shit. Life-changing. Man, Phil fucking Hoffman. It's great. It's good stuff.
Phil fucking Seymour Hoffman.
I would like to say thank you to every guest that we had on the season. I think at a certain point when we were doing the show, we sort of realized that like every episode was going to have a guest, and like that kind of happened naturally. The last few have not. It was amazing. But, we should thank those people. Adam Shartoff, who on our Jack Goes Boating, Filmax Radio. Check it out. Caitlin May Burke, Doubt, who produced a film called Feast of the Epiphany that's playing at Museum of the Moving Image this weekend. Shahir Dowd of the only podcast about movies. It's a fucking lie.
I was also recently on it. Check out our episode on The Lighthouse.
Oh my God. Michael Rangelli, Annie Rose Malamet, Jose Rodriguez.
We said Girls Got Giallo.
Annie Rose Malamet of Girls Got Giallo. Jose Rodriguez, Michael Rangelli, Michael Carroll, Mark Pagan. Doesn't that feel like Mark forever Pagan, ago? Yeah, of Other Men Need Help. Kel Karpinski. Kel fucking Karpinski.
What a joy.
The GOAT.
We love you, Kel.
Kel, you're the best. I love Kel. It was a great season. And
our friend Paul Molinari.
Oh my goodness.
SINY represent.
So the problem with that is that he's not in the notes that I was looking at.
Well, yeah, I think he also said, like, please don't ever refer to me as Paul who appeared on Red Dragon. I was like, all right, that's fine.
I don't want anybody to know that. Yeah, you're all wonderful. You're all the best.
Thank you all.
And thanks for a great season. And we'll be back at you. Season 3. Na 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 na.
I thought that was that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Should we do it again?
No, I think they know what it is.
This is a song Charles Manson stole from the Beatles.
Does it do with the accent though?
This is a song Charles Manson stole from the Beatles.
There you go.
We're stealing it back.
Thank you, Bono.
When I get to the bottom. Okay. I'm Liam Billingham.
I'm Joshua Goplis.
This was
Uber Buses.
Bye.